Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's a cold morning. It's humid. We're alive and well. I have gotten, just brief talk as everybody gets their coffee and finds their seats. We play with our selfie stick. There we go. I posted a video yesterday, which by the time you see this will be 8 days ago, called A Message for Someone. And I was hearing three things over and over again for an hour and 45 minutes, the same three things, just talking to God. And he was talking back, and he kept saying the same three things. Number one, how much will you give me? Number two, how much can I take from you? And number three, if you're battling demons, make sure that's your job, because he has people for that. I still don't really understand, other than the broad strokes, what that means. But since I posted that video yesterday, I spent 90 minutes this morning replying to emails from people about how that was for them. Thank you for saying it. And YouTube comments, dozens, responding to them and putting a little heart on it so people know, hey, I see you. I've had 3 sanity checks in the last 16 hours from people I love and respect. And to a very small degree, because I would never even attempt to put myself on the same pedestal, but to a very small degree, I can understand how Moses must have felt when he had to stand in front of Pharaoh for the first time and open his mouth. A weird thing happens when you're talking, and all of a sudden they're not your words anymore, they're his words. When I played drums in Sunday church, many a time people would come up to me afterwards and say, that was so awesome, you did such a great job, how did you do that thing with the thing? I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about. They'd say, well, you were there, you played the drums. And I said, no, I literally had my eyes closed for the last 20-25 minutes. I might have been up here for the last 20-25 minutes, but to me it's been about 45 seconds. I couldn't tell you what just happened. I was just here. And I would go back and listen to the recordings or watch the video and just be astonished, because I was there, but it wasn't me that was playing the drums. It's a very surreal feeling. I don't ever want to get used to it. I don't ever want to take it for granted. I don't ever want to be humbled and floored and amazed when people contact me and tell me that me doing this has literally saved their life. Because it's not me. I'm just the vessel. And as I've said 100,000 times before, my most often and my most fervent prayer is one of thanks that a broken vessel can still carry water. Kintsugi. Thank you, brother. Kintsugi. Kentsugi. Google it. So it's with all of that on my heart and mind this morning that I stand out here in the cold, excited to crack my Bible open and read it with you. I'm excited that for whatever strange reason, I get to do this. This is a privilege for me. And I'm humbled by it always. And I don't ever want to not be humbled by it. The day I take this for granted is the day you will never see me again. Okay? Now, cool story, T. Crack your dang Bible open and read it. Yes, sir. Last week, we were in Bereshit, Genesis. And we left off, I did a lot of reading this morning. We left off at the end of 41. So we're going to pick up at 42 this morning. Now, we talked a good bit last week. We covered a lot of ground last week. We talked a lot about this famine that was in the land, and it was all over the earth. The last line of 41 is, and all the earth came to Joseph in Mitzrayim to buy grain, because the scarcity of food was severe in all the earth. It says it twice right there. So that reiteration in the mouths of two or three is a thing established, right? It says it twice that you understand it was everywhere. In all the earth, there was no food. The scarcity of food was upon all the earth. So we foot stomped that last week, but I'm just going to foot stomp that again. This is the climate that this story takes place in. There's no food. I believe we are at the end of the fat times now. Now, if you want me to verbally beat you up about that, go watch last week's video. But just understand, I believe we are at the end or nearing the end of the fat times now. So you need to put food up. Okay. Now, let's begin in 42. And when Jacob saw there was grain in Mitzrayim, Jacob said to his sons, why do you look at each other? You just going to sit there and look at each other? There's freaking food over there in Egypt. And he said, see, I have heard that there is grain in Mitzrayim in Egypt. Go down to that place and buy for us there, and let us live and not die. Quit sitting around, look at each other. Go to Egypt, buy food, dummies. Or at least that's what I hear in my mind. And Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain in Mitzrayim. But Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with his brothers, or as my book says, Binyamin. For he said, lest some harm come to him. He doesn't want anything to happen to him. And the sons of Israel, who's, Jacob, which they use Jacob, Jacob, and Israel interchangeably in my Bible, which is the scriptures, which is the bomb. Okay. And the sons of Israel went to buy grain amongst those who journeyed, for the scarcity of food was in the land of Canaan. And Joseph was the governor over the land, and he was the one who sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brothers came and bowed down before him with their faces to the earth. And Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he acted as a stranger to them and spoke to them harshly and said to them, where do you come from? Where do you go? Where do you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? And they said, from the land of Canaan, sir, to buy food. So Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. Everybody got that? Sweet. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he had dreamed about them, and he said, "You are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land." Now remember, earlier what precipitated this whole thing was he had 2 dreams, one of which was the sun and the moon and 11 stars bowing to him, his mother and his father and his 11 brothers. The other of which was 12 sheaves or 12 stalks of wheat, I believe, in one sheaf, with one standing upright and the other 11 bent over and bowing to him. So he has remembered this vision. This was the vision that he related to his brothers when his daddy, Jacob, sent him in the field to go check on all of his brothers who were supposed to be tending the flocks. They weren't. He reported back a bad word to his dad, and they said, "Hey, let's kill this guy." And then Reuben said, No, we're not going to kill him. We'll just dig a hole and throw him in the hole. Oh, great idea. Thanks, Reuben. So they dig a hole, they throw him in a hole, and not the Mennonites, but the Ishmaelites come along, find him in the hole, sell him into slavery. And then the other 11 brothers, 10 at that time, I believe, they lose it. Oh no, what are we gonna do? We'll just take Joseph's Technicolor dream coat, his garment. Will slay a male goat covered in blood, bring it back to daddy and say, "Hey, we don't know what happened, man. Could be anything." All right. So this is all that's going through his mind when he remembers his vision. He remembers his dream. Okay. So he says, being Joseph, "You are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land." And they said to him, "No, my master, but your servants have come to buy food. We are all one man's sons. We are trustworthy. Your servants are not spies." But he said to them, "No, but you have come to see the nakedness of the land." And they said, "Your servants are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And see, the youngest is with our father today, and one is no more." Bum, bum, bum. And Joseph said to them, "It is as I spoke to you, saying, You are spies. By this you shall be proven. By the life of Pharaoh, you do not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here." So he's fixing to jam them up. "All right, y'all are spies. The way that you can prove this to me is you can send your youngest brother here, okay? Pay attention. This is the signal for switch your ears on. And remember, as I've said before, this book has been studied from a military perspective for thousands of years. And there's a little bit of gamesmanship, some intrigue that's going to go on here, which is good. Thank you, Malaire to Milady, for coffee. You guys are the bomb. All right. By the life of Pharaoh, you are spies. And he put them all together in prison for 3 days. Now Joseph said to them on the 3rd day, "Do this and live, for I fear Elohim. If you are trustworthy, let one of your brothers be confined to your prison house, and you go bring grain for the scarcity of food to your houses. And bring the youngest brother to me, and let your words be confirmed, and you do not die." So they did. And they said to each other, "Truly, we are guilty concerning our brother, for we saw the distress of his life when he pleaded with us, yet we did not listen. That is why this distress has come upon us." They're like, "Yeah, see all that jacked up stuff we did to Joseph?" They don't realize this is Joseph, but they're like, "Look, you reap what you sow," is basically what they're saying here. Like, we did this messed up stuff, now messed up stuff is happening to us. So Reuben says, "Did I not speak to you, saying, 'Do not sin against the boy'? You said, 'Don't kill him, Reuben.' And you would not listen, and see, his blood is now required of us." And they did not know that Joseph understood them, for he spoke to them through an interpreter. Ooh, that's a classic trick right there. And he turned away from them, and he wept. He was a little choked up, man. And he came back to them and spoke to them, and he took Simon from them and bound him before their eyes. So he grabbed up Simon, gets out the duct tape and the zip ties. And Joseph commanded them, and they filled their sacks with grain, also to put back every man's silver to his sack. And so not the brothers, but his servants, okay? And thus and to give them food for the journey, and thus it was done for them. So basically, he filled their sacks with grain. He put their silver that they were going to buy grain with back into their sacks, right? And he gave them food for the journey back. So he hooked them up. Okay. So they loaded their donkeys with the grain and went from there. And as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey fodder at the lodging place, he saw his silver, for there it was in the mouth of his sack. There's a cow bugling back there. This just was very strange. Very misty this morning, very Pacific Northwestern-y. Kind of woods of Oregon-y right now. Alright, so he opens up his sack of grain and there's his silver. And he says to his brother, my silver has been returned, and there it is in my sack. And their hearts sank, and they were afraid, saying to each other, what is this that Elohim has done to us? Oh no. So they came to Jacob their father in the land of Canaan, and reported to him all that befell them, saying, the man, the master of the land, spoke to us harshly, and he took us for spies of the land. But we said to him, we're trustworthy, we are not spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father. One is no more, and the youngest is today with their father in the land of Canaan. This is, I don't feel like I need to paraphrase. This is pretty, straightforward at this point. And the man, the master of the land, said to us, by this I know that you are trustworthy. Leave one of your brothers here with me, and take food for the scarcity of food for your households, and go. And bring your youngest brother to me. Then I know you are not spies, but that you are trustworthy. I give your brother to you, and you move about in the land. So Simon was duct taped to a wall in Mitzrayim. Okay, so the other brothers go back to daddy, and they say, hey, we got food. But in order to get Simon back, we need to take the youngest brother back to prove that we're not spies. Okay? Okay, cool. And it came to be as they emptied their sacks that, look, the bundle of each man's silver was in his sack. And when they and their father saw the bundles of silver, they were afraid. They didn't understand why somebody would do that. It gave them agita. You know what that means, Lois. The rest of you guys are like, what? Anyway. And Jacob their father said to them, you have bereaved me. Joseph is no more, and Simon is no more, and you would take Benjamin? All this is against me. I ain't happy about this. So Reuben spoke to his father, saying, thank you, Reuben. You're the best. Take the lives of my 2 sons if I do not bring him back to you, Daddy. Put him in my hands, and I myself will bring him back to you, Daddy. But he said, my son is not going down with you. He's talking about Benjamin. For his brother is dead, and he is left alone. If any harm should come to him along the way in which you go, then you would bring down my gray hair with sorrow to Sheol. I would just die. Jacob's just always been a little melodramatic, seems to me, Just a little melodramatic. I would just die. Whatever. Maybe it's just my interpretation of the book. Or of Jacob. I mean, hey man, the guy was good with sheep. I'll give him that. He was really good with sheep. He also, stole his brother's birthright for a bowl of lentils and then swindled him out of his blessing. And now he's just gonna die. But in the whole appeasement policy with Esau when they're coming back across the river. I mean, that was good because he wasn't really operating from a position of strength. So in that case, appeasement is better, than dying, live to fight another day. I get that. It's just kind of like, Jacob doesn't seem very confrontational. And I am. I'm like, oh, we're going to fight? Cool, let's do it. Jacob's like, no. Let's talk this out. So, or at least that's my perception of him. 43. Oh, wait. We finished the chapter. We need to hydrate. 43. But the scarcity of food was severe in the land, and it came to be when they had eaten up the grain which they had brought from Mitzrayim, that their father said to them, go back, buy us a little food. So they ate all the grain they bought. Simon's still duct taped to a wall. Jacob's like, nah, you are not taking Benjamin over there to Egypt. You ain't doing it. Or something like that. Simon's still, right? I'm like, whatever. We'll get him. Ish. We'll go back for him, when we're making a trip that way. We'll figure it out. Why make a special trip just for Simon? He'll be all right. All right. So they ate all the food that they'd bought, right? And so Jacob says, go back, get us a little food. But Judah spoke to him, saying, the man vehemently warned us, saying, you do not see my face unless your brother is with you. So now they're talking about bringing Benjamin, right? If you let our brother go with us, we go down and buy you food. But if you do not let him go, we do not go down, because this man said to us, you do not see my face unless your brother is with you. And Israel, Jacob, said, why did you do evil to me to inform the man that you still had another brother? Like, why did you tell him? Fair question. It's a question of a non-confrontational man, but why did you tell him? Again, maybe, you know what? I'll give him the benefit of a doubt. It is a good question. Okay. Sorry, Jacob. 4,000 years later. And they said, the man kept asking about us and our relatives, saying, is your father still alive? Have you another brother? And we informed him according to these words. How could we know that he would say, bring your brother down? And Yehuda and Judah said to Israel, his father, send the boy with me, and let us arise and go and live and not die, both we and you and also our little ones. Thank you, man of action. Shut up, give me Benjamin. We're going to Egypt to get grain. I'll be back with Benjamin and Simon. Chill. We're going to stand here and argue about it and die, or we're going to go get food and not die. Okay. I, myself, shall guarantee for him. From my hand you are to require him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. For if we had not delayed, truly by now we could have returned this second time. Amen. We're going to stand here and talk about it all day, or are we just going to do it? And their father Israel said to them, if so, then do this. Take some of the best fruit of the land in your vessels and bring a present down for the man, a little balm and a little honey, spices and myrrh, nuts and almonds. And take double silver in your hand, and take back in your hand the silver that was returned in the mouth of your sacks. It could have been a mistake. So what he's saying is take twice as much silver as you did last time, and the silver you took the first time. So, and take your brother, and arise, and go back to the man. And El Shaddai, Father God, give you compassion before the man, so that he shall release you and your brother and Benjamin. And if I am bereaved, I am bereaved. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Good. I'm glad we all sat around and ate all our food while we argued about whether or not we should go get more food. So, which, again, you see the position of strength here is having all of the food. Not having food is certainly not operating from a position of strength. You see, we're literally just reading about a bunch of hoops that are being jumped through right now so that people can go get food and not die. Who's in a more secure position here, Joseph or Jacob and the remainder of his progeny? So, okay. And the men took that present and Benjamin, and they took double the amount of silver in their hand, and arose and went to Mitzrayim and stood before Joseph. And Joseph saw Benjamin with them, and he said to the one over his house, his butler, his top guy, he said to his butler, bring the men home and make a great slaughter, and prepare, for these men are to eat with me at noon. I could make a great slaughter right now. It's not noon yet, but I could eat. Not you guys don't care, but that's cool. And the man did as Joseph said, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. And the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house. And they said, it is because of the silver which was put back into our sacks the first time that we are brought in, to throw himself upon us and fall upon us and take us as slaves, and our donkeys too. Again, positions of strength. Much better to just have the food. So they came near to the man over the house of Joseph, the butler, and spoke to him at the door, saying, O butler, O butler, O my master, we indeed came down the first time to buy food, but it came to be when we came to the lodging place that we opened our sacks and saw each man's silver in the mouth of his sack, our silver in its weight, all of it. And we have brought it back in our hand, and we have brought down other silver in our hands to buy food. We do not know who put our silver in our sacks. But he said, Peace be with you. Do not be afraid. Your Elohim and the Elohim of your father has given you treasure in your sacks. Your silver had come to me. And he brought Simon out to them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house and gave them water and washed their feet. And he gave their donkeys fodder. So he hooked them up. Something to drink, a little foot wash, feed the donkeys. Don't worry about the silver. I did that. By the way, here's your brother Simon. Okay, cool. And they made the present ready for Joseph's coming at noon, for they heard that they were to eat there. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed down before him to the earth. And he asked them about their welfare, and said, Is your father well? Is the old man of whom you spoke? Is he still alive? And they said, Your servant, our father, is in good health. He is still alive. And they bowed their heads down and did obeisance. I can't remember how to pronounce that word. They were obedient. Obeisance. I believe that's how you pronounce that word. First cup of coffee. Obeisance. I think it's obeisance. Obeisance. We'll go with that. And he lifted his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is this your younger brother of whom you spoke to me? And he said, Elohim show favor to you, my son. And Joseph hurried, for his emotions were deeply moved towards his brother. And he looked for a place to weep and went into his room and wept there. Then he washed his face and came out and controlled himself and said, Serve the food. And they set him a place by himself, and them by themselves, and the Mitzrites who ate with them by themselves, for the Mitzrites could not eat food. The Egyptians could not eat food with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to Mitzrites. Too bad, Mitzrites. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth, and the men looked at each other in astonishment. And he took portions to them from before him. But Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs, and they feasted and they drank with him. So Joseph served out the portions. He gave Benjamin 5 times as much, because he liked him, I guess. Now Benjamin and Joseph were both the daughters of Rachel, and the rest of these cats are the daughters of Leah, however you want to pronounce that, Leah, and the 2 maidservants, the concubines, Zilpah, ? And one other, whose name I can't remember. So, the majority of these cats, 10 out of 12, did not come from Rachel. Remember, Rachel is the one that Jacob fell in love with. And also, interestingly enough, Rachel was like a young lady. At the time, Jacob was anywhere between 55 and 70 years old. So, all my gray-bearded homies, don't lose faith. Maybe there's little Rachel running out there for you if you're on the market. It'll be okay. Then again, maybe not. Also, are you strong enough to roll away the stone from the well's mouth, my gray-bearded friends? Because that was impressive to Rachel. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know where this comes from. These words just fall out of my mouth. All right, 44. Let's drink some coffee first. This is a pretty straightforward story. That's good. 44. And he commanded the one over his house, the butler, saying, Fill the men's sacks with food, as they are able to bear, as much as they can carry, and put each man's silver in the mouth of his sack. and put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the sack of the youngest, and the silver for his grain. And he did according to the word of Joseph, which he spoke. And as soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away on their donkeys. And when they'd gone out of the city, not having gone far, Joseph said to the one over his house, the butler, rise up, follow the men, and when you overtake them, say to them, why have you repaid evil for good? Is this not the one from which my master drinks, and with which he indeed divines? You have done evil in what you have done. So he overtook them and spoke these words to them. It's the setup, man. Joseph had his butler put his silver cup in Benjamin's grain sack, and then go chase them down after they left. And guess what they're going to find when they open Benjamin's grain sack? Burping. And they said to him, why does my master say these words? Far be it from us that your servants should do according to this word. See, we brought back to you from the land of Canaan the silver which we found in the mouths of our sacks. How then should we steal silver or gold from your master's house? We got all this silver already. Why would we steal more? With whomever of your servants is found, he shall die, and we shall become my master's slaves as well. Just go ahead, look. Wherever you find the cup, he dies, and the rest of us will be your slaves. Like, it ain't going to happen, bro. And he said, now also let it be according to your words, the butler. He, with whom it is found, becomes my slave, and you are innocent. And they hurried. Each man let down his sack to the ground, and each opened his sack, and he searched with the oldest first and the youngest last, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. And they tore their garments. Oh, snap. Where'd this come from? And each man loaded his donkey and went back to the city. And Yehuda and Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house, and he was still there. Rifle shot. 10 o'clock. 500 meters. 30 caliber. Probably shooting at a deer. There's a beautiful 8-point, Eastern scale 8-point, meaning 4 tines on each side, not 8 tines on one side. There's a beautiful 8-point running around here that really just wants me to kill him and eat him. Just so y'all know. Hopefully, he's still alive and didn't just get shot in the heart and lungs by whoever's 500 meters that way. Cool. Because we're at the very edge of one of our property lines right now. Not that you care, but now you know. So, where were we? They came to Joseph's house, and he was still there, and they fell on the ground before him. And Joseph said to them, what deed is this you have done? Did you not know that a man like me indeed divines? And Yehuda said, what do we say to my master? What do we speak, or how do we clear ourselves? Elohim has found out the crookedness of your servants. See, we are my master's slaves, both we and he also, with whom the cup was found. But he said, far be it from me to do this. The man in whose hand the cup was found, he becomes my slave, and you go up in peace to your father. And Judah came near to him and said, O my master, please let your servant speak a word in my master's hearing, and do not let your displeasure burn against your servant, for you are like Pharaoh. Lots of words. Sometimes these Hebrews use a lot of words conversationally. Joseph says, give me Benjamin, he's my slave. Right? Did you not know that Judah says, what do we speak? Elohim, blah, blah, blah. See, we are my master's slaves. Judah says, we're all your slaves, both we and he whom with the cup was found. So Judah says, all of us will be your slaves. Okay. And Joseph says, no, we're not doing that. Just the man with whom the cup was found. He'll be my slave. And the rest of you leave. Okay. Then Judah says, hey, look, man. My master asked his servants, you asked us, saying, do you have a father or a brother? And we said, yeah, we have a father, an old man, and a young child of his old age, and his brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother's children, and his father loves him. Right? So basically, he's making a plea here saying, look, Rachel has only got one son left because the other one is dead, that one being Joseph that they don't know they're talking to, and Benjamin, is her only son remaining, right? And our father is old, and Benjamin's young, and because remember, like, Jacob was way older than Rachel. Rachel's only got one son left, and, like, look, you're gonna totally jack up the family, dude. Please don't do this. Okay. And he alone is left of his mother's children, and his father loves him. And you said to your servants, bring him down to me, and let me set my eyes on him. And we said to my master, the boy is not able to leave his father, for if he leaves his father shall die. But you said to your servants, unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you do not see my face again. And it came to be, when we went up to your servant, my father, that we told him the words of my master. And our father said, go back and buy us food. We told Daddy all this, and he said, cool, take Benjamin, go buy food. Okay. But we said, we are not able to go down. If our youngest brother is with us, then we shall go down, for we are not able to see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us. Then your servant my father said to us, you know that my wife bore me 2 sons, and that one went out for me. And I said, truly, he is torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. Talking about Joseph here. And if you take this one from me too, and harm comes to him, you shall bring down my gray hair with evil to Sheol. I'll just simply die. And now, if I come to your servant my father, and the boy is not with us, since his own life is bound up in his life, then it shall be when he sees that the boy is not with us, that he shall die. Look, you're gonna kill Daddy when he finds out that Benjamin's gone, because they're intertwined with each other. His life is bound up in his life. Okay. For your servant went guarantee for the boy to my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, then I shall be a sinner before my father forever. And now, please let your servant remain instead of the boy as a slave to my master. Judah is saying, let me stay so that Benjamin can go. And let the boy go up with his brothers. For how do I go up to my father if the boy is not with me, lest I see the evil that would come upon my father? Okay, are you seeing how the trap that Joseph has set is playing out here? All right. I think we'll do 45, and then we'll call it a day. We're already 38 minutes in. So here we go, 45. Which is good, because 46 is just, we get back into some more begats. So, all right, 45. And Joseph was unable to restrain himself before all those who stood by him, and he called out, have everyone go out from me. So no one stood with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud, and the Mitzrites and the house of Pharaoh heard it. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers were unable to answer him, for they trembled before him. Then Joseph said to his brothers, please come near to me. And when they came near, he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Mitzrayim. And now do not be grieved nor displeased with yourselves, because you sold me here, for Elohim sent me before you to preserve life. I'm your brother. I know, you're all jacked up. You thought I was dead. But don't be displeased with yourself, because if I hadn't been here, if Elohim had not sent me here, I would not have been able to preserve life. We're going to see something interesting here. This is a recurring theme, right, throughout the Bible, and these covenants that exist between the Most High and his people. Because here we go, 45:6. For 2 years now the scarcity of food has been in the land, and there is still 5 years in which there is neither plowing nor harvesting. And Elohim sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant in the earth, and to give life to you by a great escape. The Father is in the business of preserving remnants. We see this over and over again. And I would say I've told you this over and over again, but I haven't told you this. He has told you this. I have simply pointed it out when I see it. The Father preserves remnants. It's also very interesting that we will see here in this discussion in 45 that although provision has been made, although even during the fat times people stored up food and there was good stewardship taking place, not everyone makes it. Not everyone makes it. Preserving a remnant, okay? A remnant. A remnant, a remnant, a remnant. Like the remnant, Revelation 12:17, the remnant of the church will be those that have a testimony of the Christ, of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, the Messiah, the anointed of the Most High, and keep the commandments. A remnant. Noah, the Noahic covenant, the rainbow in the sky. A reminder that the Father always preserves a remnant, that even when all flesh has been corrupted upon the face of the earth, that last little bit that remains that are property of Him, He preserves a remnant. The remnant, that term is indicative of the fact that a whole bunch of people don't make it. So I would pray for you that your eyes are open and your ears are switched on, that you're doing your best to be prepared for whatever it is that's coming. Because even us, we might not make it. We can certainly be better prepared than a lot of other people, but a remnant implies that we're not all going to make it. And I think we do ourselves a disservice if we think that we will, simply because. However, let's move on. 45:8. So then you did not send me here, but Elohim, and he has set me for a father to Pharaoh, and master of all his house, and ruler throughout the land of Mitzrayim. Hurry and go up to my father, and say to him, Thus says your son Joseph, Elohim has made me master of all of Mitzrayim. Come down to me, do not delay. You shall dwell in the land of Goshen, and be near to me, you and your children and your children's children, your flocks and your herds, and all that you have. And I shall provide for you there, lest you and your household and all that you have come to poverty, because 5 years of scarcity of food are still to come. And look, your eyes and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see that it is my mouth that speaks to you. And you shall inform my father of all my esteem in Mitzrayim, and of all that you have seen, and you shall hurry and bring my father down here. And he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck, and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. And he kissed all his brothers, and wept over them, and after that his brothers spoke with him. And the report of it was heard by the house of Pharaoh, saying, The brothers of Joseph have come. And it was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and the eyes of his servants. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Say to your brothers, Do this, Load your beasts and go, enter the land of Canaan, and take your father and your households, and come to me, and I give you the best of the land of Mitzrayim, and you eat the fat of the land. And you have been commanded, do this, take wagons out of the land of Mitzrayim for your little ones and your wives, and you shall bring your father and come. And do not be concerned about your goods, for the best of all the land in Mitzrayim is yours. You don't even need to bring your stuff. We'll give you a new, better stuff when you get here. And the sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons according to the mouth of Pharaoh, and he gave them food for the journey. And he gave to all of them, to each man, changes of garments, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of garments. His brother from the same mother. And he sent to his father this, 10 donkeys loaded with the best of Mitzrayim, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and food for his father for the journey. And so he sent his brother away and left, and he said to them, Do not quarrel along the way. And they went up out of Mitzrayim and came to the land of Canaan to Jacob their father. And they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive, and he is governor over all the land of Mitzrayim. And Jacob's heart ceased, for he did not believe them. But when they spoke to him all the words which Joseph had spoke to them, and when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to transport him, the spirit of Jacob their father was revived. And Israel said, Enough, my son Joseph is still alive. Let me go and see him before I die. there's not a lot to interpret in this section of Genesis. It's pretty straightforward. Preparedness is a biblical principle. It's right there. It's also important, I believe, to acknowledge that simply being prepared does not guarantee your survival. We tend to believe that because we are better prepared than most, we'll be okay. If the Father wills it, we will be okay. If He does not, we will not. Certainly you should be. But there's still an element of gamesmanship here, right? A remnant is preserved. And that's what the Father's in the business of doing, is preserving remnants. He makes a way for His people, right? There's always a path forward. It's just how many people get to walk on that path is kind of the big question. Only 2 people made it into the Promised Land. 2 of the original 600,000 military-aged men made it into the Promised Land. Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives. 8 people. We'll see Jacob and his household, when they moved to Goshen, his household totals 70 people. So, I guess the numbers are going up, which is good, but I think it's good to not lose perspective that it could be us at any time as well. And that while there is provision and blessing here in the temporal world, man, this is a stepping stone to eternity in servitude to the Most High. And we should get good at practicing that here, so we can do our best there. To be obedient to the still small voice, to go where the Spirit leads, to help people, to love on people. Even when sometimes the best way to love on somebody is to love on them from afar. Because maybe you just want to lay hands on them and not in a healing way. I get that too. Heed the still small voice. Go where the Spirit leads. Do what the Father tells you to do, even if it results in you getting 3 sanity checks in the last 16 hours. Be in the world, but not of the world. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you should live your life with one benchmark. Did I put a smile on God's face today? Everybody else's opinion doesn't matter. It's nice, but it doesn't matter. My opinion doesn't matter. My wife's opinion of me doesn't matter. Not in the long term. Not on the eternal timeline. It doesn't matter. I have a really good brother who describes his life's mission as sliding sideways into heaven and dragging as many sinners with him as he can. I love that mental image. I love it. Because I literally have this image of him with like handfuls of people dragging him with him going, we're going. We're going. And of course that underplays the element of personal responsibility. But I love that. I think that's what matters. It's doing the Father's will for your life. He understands the Father's will for his life that way. That that's his job. So I would encourage you to understand the Father's will for your life. And the way that you do that, the way that you get that, is you talk with Him. And He talks with you. And at times, it may sound crazy to you and to everybody else. If it doesn't sound crazy here, it's not. So Shabbat Shalom, y'all. Go forth and do. Do your best today to be righteous in the eyes of the Most High and to put a smile on His face. Shalom.